Yo guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'll be covering on Faber Residence. So this is the upcoming new launch at District 5 and this is along the Faber Walk area. So for those of you that's familiar with this area, right, it's quite interesting because it's split into two parts. So the first part will be the Resale Grand, Twin View, Parc Riviera, that side. So those are the higher plot ratio and also means that the blocks are much higher, up to 40th story. But on the other side, we have Waterfront at Faber and also Faber Residence. So for these two plots, they are the lower plot ratio, and at the same time, I'll be going through in this video about the recent transactions for these few comparisons in the resale market and whether or not having a high rise or a low density plot is more beneficial and has higher demand. And at the same time, I will also be looking at the site plans, the layouts to do a deeper analysis. So stay tuned to the end of the video to find out more. The overview of today's video, I'll be covering on some of the key project information for Faber Residence, followed by some of its resale competitors and how actually Faber Residence can stand out in the resale market. Last but not least, I'll be also looking at the price gap analysis versus its resale competitors to actually make informed decision and a data-backed analysis of this area itself. Alright, so now for the key project information for Faber Residence. Over here we have the preview, right, happening on 3rd of October, and then target launch will be on 18th of October this year. So for those of you that's interested in this development, you can feel free to WhatsApp me at 8484-9302 to get your own personalized analysis, okay? So here the developer is Guocoland, and then the district and address, we are at District 5 along Faber Walk area, and the total number of units is 399 units. Unit types from 2 bedders all the way to 5 bedders. So later on I will be also covering on the unit mix in detail. Plot ratio of 1.4, tenure will be looking at 99 years leasehold, and then the site area is 25,000 square meters or 277,000 square feet. So later on I will be also sharing the project details in further detail. Alright, so for those of you that's not that familiar with the Faber Walk area, I've already prepared a map, right, so you can visualize with me. So for here you can see the ones I circled already. This is Faber Residence plot itself, and we are right above AYE, and above us will be Waterfront at Faber. So later on in the video I will also be touching on a little bit on the site plan and also some of the layouts at Waterfront at Faber. Then you can see for yourself, right, what is the differentiating factor for Faber Residence versus Waterfront at Faber. And on top of that, below the AYE, we are looking at Parc Riviera, Twin View and Resale Grand. So these 4 resale condos will be our main basis of comparison for today's video. Okay, so for Faber Residence, right, although it is not near any MRT stations, the ones that is coming up will be these two, which is Jurong Town Hall and Pandan Reservoir. So these two MRT stations belong to Jurong Regional Line, and for the Jurong Regional Line, right, it should be up before Faber Residence TOP. And what I expect is not really walking distance to the MRT station, but at least you have something going on in the area. So just for you to take note, I don't think this will be within walking distance. It should be still more than 10 minutes walk minimum. So at least for you guys, you have something to look forward to if you are looking towards Faber Residence itself. Okay, so right now let's dive deeper into Faber Residence. So over here you can see the number of blocks we have in total is 9 blocks. So when I look at the 9 blocks versus how much land size we are looking at, which is 277,000 square feet, right, it does raise a concern because usually for this kind of plot, right, you don't want to have so many blocks because in the end, even though it is a low density development, it does feel like very cramped because the number of facilities will be limited and the number of blocks most likely will be facing each other. So for this, I'll be looking closer into Waterfront at Faber, then we can see how it actually performs in the resale market and whether having 9 blocks in this plot of land will actually cause it to have like high density or it will still relatively remain as a low density development. And then the number of units per block we'll look at is 2 blocks of 8 units per floor, so very likely this will be the more premium and bigger units one, and then 5 blocks of 9 units per floor and 2 blocks of 10 units per floor. And the number of car park lots we are looking at is 399 lots, so this one will be 1-to-1 car park lots. EV lots, 13 lots, okay, and then bicycle, they also have 102 parking for bicycle lots. So for the showroom units, right, we'll be looking at the 3 bedrooms. So this is the type C5 861 square feet layout types, 4 bedrooms type D6 1270 square feet, and last but not least the 5 bedrooms type E1 1485 square feet. So the layout has not been released yet, but at least we can use the previous Guocoland developments to kind of gauge what kind of size for the 3, 4 and 5 bedrooms we should be expecting, and most likely Guocoland won't be changing the layout too much. Okay, so right now I'll be going through the unit mix for Faber Residence, and then you can see over here, starting off we have 2 bedroom types. So it's a good thing for this project that we don't have 1 bedders. It means that lesser investors, lesser tenants over here. So for the 2 bedrooms standard, we have a total of 3 layouts. They are B1, B2 and B3, but the good thing is they are 646 square feet harmonized. So at least you know, even though the layouts could slightly differ in terms of configuration, in the end you know the quantum is around there if you estimate based on PSF. So the difference in the prices for the 2 bedders itself is not going to differ too much. Okay, so for B1 we have a total of 30 units, B2 10 units, B3 40 units. So this makes up a total of 80 units, and it is only at 20% of the unit mix. So definitely in this development, Guocoland is going for a very strong own stay component, because only got 20% for 2 bedrooms, and then the other 80% will be the 3, 4 and 5 bedders. So definitely very good mix here. Okay, so next up we have the 3 bedrooms. So they have the 2 types here, 3 bedroom basic and 3 bedroom standard. So they have a total of 7 different layout types from C1 all the way to C7, and then the sizes based on what they have given us: 797 square feet, 818 square feet and 861 square feet. So I think 818 and 7971 will be quite close to what we expect at Springleaf, but the one that is going to be interesting is the 861 square feet types, because this one, it could be an iteration of the 904 square feet we saw at Springleaf, and then they try to, I don't know how they make it smaller lah. Other than that, right, you can see the total number of units for the 3 bedroom basic we are looking at is 93 units, and this will form 23% of the total unit mix. 3 bedroom standard we are looking at 56 units and 14% of the unit mix. So definitely very good mix over here. And then 3 bedroom plus from C8 to C11. So you see here we have 4 different types of layout: 1033 square feet and 1044 square feet. And then total number of units, we have 50 units and 13% of the unit mix. Next up we have the 4 bedrooms. So 4 bedrooms we have 3 types of layout, and they are all the same size at 1119 square feet. Total number of units 40 units, and this only is 10% of the unit mix here. 4 bedroom standard. So 4 bedroom standard we have D4 all the way to D8, and here you have some variation: 1206 square feet, 1216 square feet and 1270 square feet. So this makes up a total of 60 units here, 15% of the unit mix. Last but not least, we have the 5 bedders. So this one is E1 at 1485 square feet, 20 units here and 5% of the total unit mix. Okay, so for some FAQ about Faber Residence, right, over here the first question that they say, what are the design concept of this landscape and how different is this compared to the other condominiums? So by Guocoland, this is inspired by the enduring garden philosophy of Jeffrey Bawa. This landscape concept creates a serene network of 18 interconnected courtyards. So you already can see the concept here they're going for is 18 courtyards. So you expect a lot of different gardens along this development. Each courtyard garden is designed to emphasize open vistas, intimate garden spaces with key garden features like tranquil lily ponds, seating areas, elegant pavilions, shaded tree groves and vibrant flowering beds. So this one really encourage residents to immerse themselves in the outdoor, fostering relaxation and deep connection with nature. And what is the approximate percentage of site coverage and landscape? So over here, out of the 25,000 square meters total landscape area, we are looking at about 60%, and then the total green space and green area they have is about 30%. And what is the height of the residential blocks, right? This will be about 24 meters and up to 5 stories high. So definitely for those of you, if you prefer a high-rise development, this is not the one, okay? Because this one is up to 5 stories only. And if you look here, here's a screenshot of all the recreational facilities. So just now we already mentioned all the different courtyards and gardens, right? But what really stands out is that it doesn't have full-blown facilities. So you can see here, other than all the different gardens, different courtyards, here you got the fitness courtyard, then you got Momentum Plaza, yoga lawn, indoor gym, multi-purpose court, and this is at basement 1. So you can see they are already trying to make full use on the space, because on the landscape first floor itself, right, because of they have a total of 9 blocks, they are not able to fit in all the facilities. So that's why they already have to fit in some of the the multi-purpose court on basement 1, and then you have the other dining rooms, all these club lawns, steam room, plaza court, and for the pools you have the leisure pool, jacuzzi, sun deck, water deck, and then we have a proper 50-meter lap pool, pool deck, the meadow lawn, and then I mean, of course you still got other pools here, but the main thing here is that you don't really have tennis court area. And then here, number 19, you still got the playground, outdoor fitness area, a lookout terrace, waterside trail, and also the dry garden at basement 1 as well. Okay, so next up I'm gonna be discussing about potential views that Faber Residence can have. So you can see over here on the site map, right, for Faber Residence, if there are those units facing the north side, you'll be facing towards the canal, that side, okay, river view lah. And then if you're facing towards the Faber Walk landed side, then you can get the unblocked views for the landed if you are above 3rd or 4th story lah. But to be honest, the better view in my opinion will be towards the canal, that side, because for the landed side, even though here they say 2-story semi-detached, right, usually the per floor is a little bit higher for the landed as compared to normal condos. But of course you need to see if they manage to elevate the entire development versus the landed side, then maybe you can still get the unblocked landed views. If you search online, you can see Waterfront at Faber. For some of the units facing towards the landed side, actually the view is going to be quite solid one. Other than that, if you're facing towards the AYE, you also need to know what kind of price premium you're paying for the canal facing or the landed facing, because in the end, I'm sure AYE facing you will have a lot of noise. Okay, that is unavoidable. So now onto the more important segment. This is what I usually compare for my clients. This will be the resale comparisons when we look at new launches. So it'll be mainly from these 4 developments: Whistler Grand, Twinview, Parc Riviera, and Waterfront at Faber. Alright, so just to give you guys some context around these 4 resale condos, right, since they are quite near in terms of age. First up, we have Parc Riviera. So this one is fully sold in less than a year back in 2017. So don't discount this area, definitely is still quite hot lah. I think because of its proximity to Nanhua. So the second one will be Waterfront at Faber, and at the first launch in 2014, they had only 77 units sold out of the 210 units. So you can see already a difference in terms of the take-up rate. But of course, we don't know whether Faber Residence can have the same kind of take-up rate, because if you look at the market right now, actually there is not much developments around this PSF range already of about 2000 to 2002 range. And next up, we have Twinview. So Twinview is by CSC Land, and they sold 85% on launch weekend. Okay, so this one average sales was about 1399 PSF for this development in 2018. If you guys know 2018, that period, it was still quite hot because the units moving quite fast and the ABSD wasn't in yet. And last but not least, we have Whistler Grand. So Whistler Grand, strangely enough, because it launched in the same year as Twinview, I think it came at a different time period with the ABSD. So the number of units sold actually was quite slow for Whistler Grand. Whistler Grand only sold 150 units, and you can see in the article they say 150 units out of the 240 units launched. But actually we all know that, I'm quite sure it's because the developer couldn't sell more than 150 units. That's why they put out of the 240 units launched. But when you look at today, right, having poor day one sales, does it mean that it will have lower profits? So not really leh. Actually, when you look at the resale transactions, I'm sure if you guys have been watching YouTube for a while, Whistler Grand actually has very strong profitability and also resale performance. Okay, so right now, right, we're going to look closer into the resale price performance for all these 4 comparables in the resale market. And then from there, right, we can see which projects actually perform better and which one perform worse. And then from there, we will look deeper into the reasons why potentially the development never performed as well. So first up, we have Parc Riviera. Okay, so for the time frame, right, I'll be looking from 2018 all the way to Q2 2025, because this was when Whistler Grand and Twinview launched. I won't take the data from when Waterfront actually launched up. So first up, we have Parc Riviera. Q4 2018, it was around 1003 PSF, and then fast forward to today, Q2 2025 at 1007 PSF. So this actually net a gain of 329 PSF at 23% profit margin. Waterfront at Faber back in 2018 was transacted about 1004 PSF, and then fast forward to today we are looking at 1005 PSF. So definitely very poor performance already, you can see, when compared to Parc Riviera, and 145 PSF and 10% gains for 7 years. Resale Grand Q4 2018 1357 PSF. So this one was 218 units, and then now fast forward to Q2 2025 1894 PSF. Very healthy volume in the last quarter at 17 units, and this actually net profit of 537 PSF at 39% gains. Twinview 1004 PSF in 2018, and then fast forward to today we are looking at 1009 PSF with 5 units sold in the last quarter, and this resulted in a gain of 494 PSF at 34% profit margin. So right after looking at the resale price performance, you must be wondering, why did Waterfront at Faber perform so poorly as compared to its counterparts? And at the same time, will Faber Residence actually replicate the price performance for Waterfront at Faber, or will it actually have a different story? So right now, let's investigate this deeper as to see why Waterfront at Faber actually underperformed its 3 resale counterparts. So first up, we have Whistler Grand. So this one TOP in 2022. The land size is 210,000 square feet, plot ratio of 2.8, and the total number of units you are looking at is 716. Now for the residential analysis, you can see for Whistler Grand we have 82% Singaporeans, 16% PR, and then the previous purchaser address we are looking at is 55% HDB and 44% coming from private property owners. So you can see over here, right, majority of the people are buying is local, and at the same time a significant portion actually comes from the HDB upgraders. It can be from the Clementi side or Bukit Batok side. I think overall we have a very strong and healthy demand for this area. Okay, so next up we have Twinview. So this one also TOP in 2022. Land size is 176,000 square feet, plot ratio of 2.8, total number of units is 520. And then now for the residential analysis, 83% Singaporeans, 15% PR. And then for previous purchaser address, 47% comes from private property, and then 52% comes from HDB buyers. So very similar story when we see Twinview versus Whistler Grand. Okay, so next up we have Parc Riviera. So this is the one that TOP in 2020, and the land size, this is the biggest one out of all the ones here, 569,000 square feet of land, plot ratio of 2.8 and 752 units. So unit mix here, the residential analysis here, 76% comes from Singaporeans, 20% comes from PR, and here you have a higher percentage of HDB buyers coming in at 59%, and then for private property purchasers we're only looking at 40% over here. Okay, last but not least, let's take a look at Waterfront at Faber. So over here, this one is TOP, the earliest out of these 4 projects, TOP in 2018, and this one the land size 162,000 square feet. To be honest, if you compare with the other 3 plots just now, the land size is actually pretty solid. Plot ratio of 1.4, total number of units is 210. This one also has the best land density amongst the 4 resale condos. So actually, if you see over here, we can conclude that actually the land size and the total number of units shouldn't be the problem here. Residential analysis here also very similar. 86% Singaporeans, 10% PR, previous purchaser address 53% from HDB, and private property address is 46%. So it does have very similar pool of buyers as compared to the other 3. Now we know that this is not the main problem. So actually, what is the other issues that potentially Waterfront at Faber can have that the other 3 developments don't have? Okay, so right now let's investigate into the next part, which is the site plans. Okay, so over here I have all the site plans for all the resale condos here, and then we can see how actually the other 3 developments differentiate themselves versus Waterfront at Faber. So over here we have Parc Riviera, 2 blocks, and then with the tennis court, facilities, and then we have 2 full-size swimming pool, and also the other smaller facilities and lawn, all this. And then next up we have Twinview. So at Twinview we also have a very similar kind of site plan, 2 blocks, and then you got a full swimming pool and tennis court, drop-off area, and you also got a smaller water feature area with the lawn. Last but not least, we have Whistler Grand. So Whistler Grand definitely is also very grand by CDL. So this one you have a drop-off area, and then you got 2 blocks. And on top of the 2 blocks, you have a 50-meter lap pool and multiple water features. And on top of that, you also have a tennis court. Okay, so now moving on to Waterfront at Faber's site plan, you already can see the stark difference. So over here you can see, even though we have very low density in the development, because of the number of blocks, right, being a large number, it really results in much lesser facilities as compared to the 3 previous ones. Because the other 3, the plot ratio is much higher, so this allows the developer to build much higher as compared to what we have here at Waterfront at Faber. So you can see we have a total number of 7 blocks plus 2 strata landed blocks, and all the facilities will be centered in the middle here. So I do expect Guocoland to build something similar to this, considering that they have 9 blocks. But overall, because Guocoland has a much bigger plot of 277,000 square feet of land as compared to Faber Residence, we really had to see how Guocoland can actually design the site plan to make it different from Waterfront at Faber. And then you can see, right, for the landed facing, to be honest, they have 2 sides, but then the main people that can benefit will be from Block 40 and Block 42, and then the other side will be the strata landed. They won't really be able to benefit much from the views because the height is about the same. So of course, for this, I've already done the breakdown for the pricing for my clients that are interested in this development, because I think it's quite important to know whether how much to pay for the landed facing premium versus inwards or even facing towards the Sungai Ulu Pandan, the canal, that side. Okay, so over here I put it side by side. You can see for Faber Residence, we have total of 9 blocks like I mentioned just now, and then these 9 blocks will be spread across 277,000 square feet of land. And then for Waterfront at Faber, you can see it has 7 blocks, and we have the strata landed taking up like almost 2 blocks worth of space, and this is about 162,000 square feet of land. So overall, if you compare between these two, I mean, of course, Faber Residence, the land size we are looking at is more than, for Faber Residence, the land size is almost 110,000 square feet larger than Waterfront at Faber. So definitely, I think this is going to be a big differentiating factor, and we have to look closely at what Guocoland can actually design and provide. I mean, for my experience and the quality of the products that Guocoland has provided, I would think that they will definitely design it quite well and they won't disappoint. So let's wait for further confirmation from Guocoland. Okay, so right now we already found out one of the factors that could have potentially led to Waterfront at Faber's lower profit in the past 10 years. Now let's investigate further into the unit mix and also the layouts to see whether it will actually affect Waterfront at Faber and also Faber Residence as well. Okay, so first up we have Waterfront at Faber. So when I look at the unit mix, actually it's quite similar to what we see at Faber Residence. Definitely still quite a good ratio. Just one thing that sticks out to me for Waterfront at Faber is that they have 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom dual key unit types. So definitely this could actually drag down some of the resale transactions in terms of profitability. And next up we have Parc Riviera. So Parc Riviera one actually is very skewed already. You can see the 1 and 2 bedders forms a huge chunk of the units at Parc Riviera. So that's why you can see Parc Riviera actually lagging behind slightly, maybe when you compare to Whistler Grand, because you see they got 128 1 bedders, 353 2 bedders, 3 bedrooms you got 135, 4 bedrooms you got 136. But did this poor unit mix actually dampen Parc Riviera's price performance? The answer is no lah. Yeah, so I would say in terms of unit mix in this area, it might not be the main differentiating factor. So Whistler Grand, you can see the 1 bedroom and 2 bedders, they still form a significant portion of the units here, but it's not as skewed as what we see at Parc Riviera. So that's why you also can see pretty healthy transactions at Whistler Grand, and this further reinforces the unit mix not being a strong component or the demand that people are looking out for in this area. Last but not least, we have Twin View. So for Twin View, it has a better unit mix. You can see 1 and 2 bedders, not as much, and then now when we look at the 3 and 4 bedders, you can see the ratio still slightly better here. Yeah, but overall the unit mix here, I don't think it is the main differentiating factor lah. Okay, so when we look at Faber Residence, even though it has a better unit mix, I don't think it will differentiate too much amongst the rest. Okay, so next up we're going to be looking looking at is the layouts. So for the layouts, I will just be covering Waterfront at Faber because I already found the problem with it, and I won't be covering the other 3 components because for the Resale, Whistler Grand, Twinview, Parc Riviera, the layouts is quite standard one, so can't really find fault with those. If you look closely, maybe you can, but for Waterfront at Faber, the layout is quite obvious, okay? So for the, let's say this 3-bedroom types, right, is over 1000 square feet. The first thing that sticks out to me is the loft units. So a lot of their common bedroom, they have this loft unit component. I'm not sure if this was done by the developer or the individual owners, but a lot of them, because of the high ceiling, all of them do this loft unit. And the second thing is actually they have these double balconies. Yeah, so other than that, actually the layout is quite solid, but I think this additional loft unit, right, I don't know if the developer on launch day they actually sold it with the void space. So if they did sell it with the void space, definitely I think people won't be so comfortable paying for it unless you have the loft lah. If you can see, this could be one of the major factors that contributed to Waterfront at Faber's lower transaction volume and also lower profit margins. And then you can see this one is just some of the screenshots I pulled from YouTube. When you look at Waterfront at Faber, and you can see a lot of the home tours, they have this common bedroom with the loft unit one. It's very common over there, and almost every video I actually can see at least one bedroom having this component. And some of the units, they even did this loft in the living room area. So I was like, wow, even the living room also got loft. So naturally, I think this is not a very popular kind of layout in today's market lah. Maybe back then people feel like, hey, I get the loft, I built like 30k for a mezzanine, so much cheaper than paying additional square feet in terms of the bottom layout. But I think overall this is beginning to be not so popular in today's market. Okay, so right now we already found out 2 of the factors that actually led to Waterfront at Faber being not so desirable in the resale market. Now let's investigate, right, whether having a 5th floor for Waterfront at Faber resulted in a lower gains. So here I will look at the other resale projects to see whether this will affect some of the demand when buyers actually consider here. Okay, so first up we have Whistler Grand. So you can see I pull out all the recent transactions from 3rd floor to 5th floor, and then you can see actually very strong profit margins there. So starting off, we can see for the 2 bedrooms we have a profit of 346,000. 3 bedders we have 536,000 in terms of profit. 4 bedders 580k in terms of profit, and 1 bedroom also very impressive. We are looking at 220k in terms of profit margin. So this is for Whistler Grand. Okay, so next up we have Twinview. So similar thing from 2nd floor all the way to 5th floor, and different unit types. Okay, so first up we have is 2 bedrooms at 2nd floor, clocking a profit of 231,000. Next up we have the 3 bedrooms 3rd floor at 519,000. Another 3 bedrooms 4th floor 438,000. 4 bedrooms 4th floor 564,000. And the 5th floor unit, the 3 bedrooms managed to clock in at 675,000 in terms of profits. So definitely I would say this area in terms of profits, even for the low floors, right, as long as you get in a good entry price, I would say your profit margin will still be well protected. Okay, so last but not least we have Parc Riviera. Also same thing, all the way from 2nd floor to 5th floor, 2 bedroom types all the way to 4 bedroom types. And then you can see for the profit margin for the 2 bedders we are looking at is 215,000. 4 bedders we are looking at is 610,000 for the 2nd floor units. Yeah, so I won't go through all of it in detail, you can pause to take a look, but overall you can see actually even for the low floor units, let's say the 4 bedders, you're still going to be clocking in pretty good profit margins. Okay, so for the next part I'll be discussing on how I actually prepare my clients for Faber Residence. If let's say they're interested in the 3 bedroom layout types, then we will analyze deeper into that using Waterfront at Faber as a case study. So if you look at the layout types, I'll be comparing the 3 bedrooms versus the dual keys at Waterfront at Faber and also Whistler Grand to actually see if the dual key layouts actually cause a dip in the profitability or actually is even outperforming the 3-bedder normal layout types. Okay, second thing is I'll be comparing versus the expressway facing, and if you're facing towards the pool or towards the canal, that side, will there be a premium as to what the buyers can pay for Waterfront at Faber, and also what we can see at Whistler Grand, those units that's facing towards the expressway in the resale market. So just an example of how I prepare my clients, right, you can see, so this is a the newly TOP project, Penrose. So they have a couple of stacks that is facing towards the PIE, and they have a couple of stacks that is facing towards a more quiet facing, which is Sims Drive. And then over here you can see I've already done the recent transactions. You can see the price gap is about 100 PSF, 150 PSF. So this is the price premium that people are willing to pay for a similar type of bedroom layout, and this is what you can expect for expressway facing versus non-expressway facing. Yeah, so of course I can do a more localized approach, which is at the expressway along Faber Walk area, and I think this will give you a more accurate sensing of what the buyers are actually willing to pay a premium in the resale market over there. Okay, so for the second component of how I actually prepare my clients for the booking day for Faber Residence, I'll be doing a price gap analysis and also a demand and supply check for the area itself. So starting off, we have the 2 bedrooms nearby resale transactions, and do take note for the resales in the West Coast area, Faber Walk area, they are all non-harmonized. So in an Excel sheet that I prepared for my clients, of course for the recent PSF, I'll be using a harmonization. I'll add in about 5 to 7%, and on top of that I'll be looking at the TOP dates for each project. So for example, Parc Riviera, right, this one TOP in 2020, and then you can see for the 2 bedrooms type, they are transacted from 945k all the way to 1.33 million. So from there, right, I will do a lease reset to make sure like on a per year basis we are comparing a more fair comparison to Faber Residence that TOP in 2029. And then you can see for the price gap, right, if let's say Faber Residence, let's say the 2 bedders, 646 square feet at $2,100 per square feet, we'll be looking at 1.356 million. So with this, right, I'll be using as a price guide to do my price gap analysis. And same thing here, if you look at Twinview 2022 TOP, price range from 1.22 million to 1.556 million. Whistler Grand TOP 2022 1.11 million and up to 1.55 million. Last but not least, we have Waterfront at Faber. So this one is 1.03 million all the way to 1.169 million. So of course, just do take note, like I mentioned, all the TOP dates is over here, and also we have to do a lease reset and also new add in the harmonization factor. Okay, so next up we're gonna be doing the 2 bedrooms demand and supply in this area itself. So you can see I'm just taking 500 meters from Twinview and the past transaction in the 1 year, and also 2 bedroom types. So you can see the number of transactions across these 4 projects, we have a total of 77 transactions, so definitely very healthy. And if you look at the number of resale listings, right, it's across 5 projects with 52 listings. So this is a very good sign, because to me, right, having a positive number when we look at past transactions versus number of listings available, there's a reason why this area, the 2 bedders, also still have very strong profit margins, because the demand is very strong here. So I would say don't discount the 2 bedders here just because it's not near any MRT, because based on the demand and supply here, this is definitely much stronger than some of the other areas. If you have watched my previous new launch videos, this is a good sign in this West Coast area. Alright, so next up, let's take a look at the nearby 3 bedroom resale prices. So first up, we have Parc Riviera, 3 bedders 1.45 million to 1.788 million. Twinview 1.63 million to 2.278 million. Whistler Grand 1.865 million to 2.2 million. Last but not least, we have Waterfront at Faber 1.6 million to 1.66 million. And then over here I have the estimate PSF of Faber Residence at 2001. Then you just times with the square feet they have given us. So with all this information, I can do a price gap analysis with the resale already. So this will kind of form how much we should pay and how much I feel like it's overpaying already for this region itself. Okay, so now for the 3 bedroom supply demand, so same thing, 500 meters within Twinview. So also very healthy here. We have 6 projects with 47 past transactions, and then for the number of listings available, which is the supply, we have 6 projects and then up to 37 listings available. So when you look at the 3 bedders, even though we are not near MRT, we are also looking at a positive supply demand ratio. So definitely for the units here, that's why you can see there's still very strong demand despite having 37 listings here. And if you already have seen some of my previous videos, like I said, if you compare the different regions, this one is very strong, and I think it's quite unexpected lah. Maybe it's because of the school factor, because definitely it's not due to the MRT for sure. Okay, so next one we're going to be talking about is the 4 bedders. So same thing here, 4 bedders Parc Riviera transacted at 1.88 million to 2.35 million. Twinview 2.4 million to 2.8 million. Whistler Grand 2.28 million to 2.48 million. million. Waterfront at Faber, 1.77 million. And then if we look at Faber Residence, the expected price range, 2.349 million, 2.532 million, 2.55 million, 2.667 million. Okay, then now let's take a look at the 4-bedroom supply demand analysis. So same thing here, but we already start to see a bit of deviation, okay? So here, 5 projects, we have 24 past transactions, okay? But you can see, right, based on the number of listings, we have 30 listings. Of course, there could have been a couple of duplicates, but that can be said for the 2-bedders and 3-bedders as well. So what this really means is that in terms of exit liquidity, I would say the 2 and 3-bedders is actually better than the 4-bedders over here. Alright, last but not least, we have the 5 bedrooms here, and then you can see the number of projects reduced a lot more, because if you see, only Whistler Grand, Twinview and Carabelle have 5-bedroom types. For the other developments, they only have up to 4-bedders. And the worrying thing is that there is not a single transaction for all of the 5-bedders. So is it more of a case where there is nobody selling or there is nobody buying in the past 1 year? And at $2,100 per square feet for Faber Residence, we are expecting about 3.118 million. Okay, so over here, let's analyze the 5-bedroom supply and demand. And then you can see the past 1 year, just now I already said, there hasn't been any transactions. And if you look at the supply, we have a total of 6 listings. And I did take a closer look, there's a couple of duplicates, but overall, right, if at 2.7 and 2.8 million quantum, there is nobody buying, right, then I'm quite worried, right, if you actually enter Faber Residence 5-bedders, because you can see even for Whistler Grand, it's a high-rise development, the facilities is gonna be quite solid already, unit mix also quite okay, but there's nobody buying even at 2.7 and 2.8 million, okay? There is a lack of liquidity, and this is very important, especially if you're an investor, or even if you're not an investor, you want to exit next time, right? You're gonna be having a hard time selling. So at $2,100 per square feet for Faber Residence, we are looking at is 3.11 million. To me, if you want to stay there long term and then you want a 5-bedder, no problem. But if you want to exit in the short term, right, maybe in the 5 to 10 year mark, then to me I don't think this is that safe in terms of quantum. Of course, if developer actually releases much lower PSF, then maybe you can consider. But I would say in terms of resale, at 2.7, 2.8, right, you already can see the stark difference between the 2-bedders up all the way up to the 4-bedders. Yeah, then the 5-bedders is stuck. So this one up to you. But if my client were to ask me, I might recommend them to consider the smaller bedroom type. But if they really need a 5-bedder, right, then maybe you can consider Whistler Grand. Yeah, so because I still see a significant price gap over here. Yeah, but that's my personal opinion. You can feel free to WhatsApp me at 8484-9302 to actually find out if this is the best move for you or you want a second opinion. Okay, so in conclusion, just now for the price gap and the demand supply analysis, right, I really think in terms of exit liquidity, the 5-bedroom type will be the rank last, okay? Then followed by 4-bedders, and then 2 and 3-bedders I would say is quite close but I was quite surprised to see actually the 2-bedders having such a strong exit liquidity, especially in the area with no MRT access. Yeah, so maybe you can let me know in the comment section, do you think this is a fair assessment of this area, and do you foresee the same thing happening for Faber Residence itself? So next up, we have the priority booking. So for Faber Residence, we also have the similar priority booking Yeah, so this one will be for loyalty purchase, VIP purchase, and multiple purchase. And you can check out the list here if you are in the Hong Leong projects or Guocoland projects. If you want the list, you can feel free to WhatsApp me at 8484-9302, or you can check with me if you can qualify for the priority booking, because from what I saw at Springleaf Residence, definitely you will need the help of priority booking if the project is extremely oversubscribed, okay? And I will not be surprised if Faber Residence is actually oversubscribed because of its entry price and also within 1 km of Nanhua Primary School. Okay, so last but not least, for those of you that want to take a look at the preview for the upcoming launches, Sky at Holland, The Sand, Zion Grand, Penreef, and Faber Residences, you can feel free to reach out to me via WhatsApp at 8484-9302 because I'll be involved in all of them. And at the same time, if you want a personalized analysis and consultation for yourself, I will also do the same for you and for all my clients. And if you found value through my video so far, you can leave a like and subscribe. And if you like this kind of content, you can check out my other YouTube videos that I've done, because I've done kind of the same in-depth analysis for the previous new launches. And that's it for today. Alright, looking forward to hear from you guys. Bye!